A few years ago, I was renting a house in Northern California. The neighborhood was just outside the suburbs, the perfect balance between having space and still having nice neighbors close enough not to feel isolated. There were no streetlights out there, so nights got really dark, especially when the clouds covered the moon. It didn't bother me though. It actually made my little house feel cozy in a strange way. One cloudy winter night, I got home from work. My headlights and the porch light were the only things cutting through the darkness. As soon as I stepped out of my car, I caught the smell of cigarette smoke. That was strange. I'd never smelled that around my house before. I looked around, but didn't see anyone, so I ignored it and went inside. I had just finished a long shift with a few hours of overtime, and I was exhausted. It wasn't even 7 yet, but I decided to take a shower and call it a night. Sometime later, I woke up. I was certain that I'd heard a noise inside the house. At first, I wasn't too worried. My friend sometimes stopped by to use my shower after work, before heading to his night classes. I'd even given him a spare key. He always texted me first, though, and I hadn't heard my phone go off. I reached over to my nightstand and grabbed my phone to check. The bright screen blinded me for a second. This was back before phones had automatic brightness, and mine was bright enough to light up the whole room. Through squinted eyes, I saw it was a little after 9, but I couldn't tell if I had any new messages. I set the phone down and called out my friend's name. There were a few seconds of complete silence, and then I heard footsteps, fast, heavy ones, running through the bottom floor of my house. I jumped out of bed and ran straight to the closet. Whoever it was had already started up the stairs. By the time I pulled the closet door open and stepped inside, that house had 3 rooms upstairs, my bedroom, a spare room across the hall, and a bathroom at the end. The bedroom doors were both closed, but the bathroom door was slightly open. I heard the intruder run down the hallway, past my door, and into the bathroom. Thank God he did. That gave me just enough time to push open the attic access inside the closet and pull myself up. I had barely lifted my legs when I heard him come running back out of the bathroom. My feet had just cleared the opening when my bedroom door burst open. I heard footsteps enter my room and stop. When he didn't see anyone, he ran out, checked the other room, the one with the boxes, weights, and my little model painting table, and then came running back into my room. He turned on the light. A moment later, the closet door was yanked open. I was crouched just a foot or two above the opening. From up there, I could only see him from the knees down, dirty blue jeans with frayed cuffs and worn-out work boots. He stood there for a few seconds, then stepped back. A loud crash echoed from my room, followed by a scream, pure frustration and rage. That scream, that was the worst part. It sounded exactly like my stepfather when he used to lose control, before he ended up in a mental hospital. The man ran back down the stairs. I heard more crashes, furniture being flipped, things thrown. I stayed perfectly still in the attic. My phone was still by the bed, and I knew if I tried to climb down, he'd hear me. After a long time, everything went quiet. I started counting, slowly. When I got to 1,000, I decided it was safe. When I climbed down, the first thing I saw was that my bed had been flipped over. That must have been the noise I heard earlier. I couldn't find my cell phone, so I grabbed the landline by the bed and called the police. They arrived and called out from downstairs before coming up. The first floor was a disaster. Chairs knocked over, the sofa flipped, books and pictures all over the floor. Even the kitchen cupboards were open, boxes and cans scattered everywhere. But as far as I could tell, the only thing missing was one knife from the wooden block on the counter. The police checked the place. They found the side door had been forced open, probably with a crowbar. Along the fence, they found cigarette butts, some foil, and an empty pen tube, the kind people use to smoke meth. They figured he'd been watching my house for a while. That explained the cigarette smell when I got home. They took the evidence and told me to stay with friends or family that night and to fix the door as soon as possible. I didn't sleep. I pushed a shelf in front of the broken door and spent the night cleaning. Every now and then, I'd go to the window with a flashlight and shine it along the fence, but I never saw anyone. The next day, I had the door fixed and got motion lights installed around the house. I even ran a phone line up into the attic and added a landline there, just in case. Nothing else ever happened. I lived there for another 3 years without any issues, but I never forgot that night. From then on, I practiced getting out of bed, running to the closet, climbing into the attic as quickly and quietly as I could. Even after I moved to another house, I still do it sometimes. Only now, there's no attic, just a small crawl space behind the closet. And every time I practice, I think the same thing. What if I had been just a little slower that night? Or if he hadn't gone into the bathroom first? Before I get into what happened, I just want to clarify something for better understanding. Our house once belonged to 2 families, so both the first and ground floors have separate kitchens and bathrooms. We also have a basement that connects to the garage. Until 2018, my wife and I barely used the first floor kitchen, and we rarely went to the bathroom there either. Things changed when our son was born. Going downstairs in the middle of the night just became too tiring, and that's when all the weird stuff started. It began with small things. We'd wake up in the morning and find the door to the downstairs office open, or something lying somewhere it shouldn't be. Sometimes that something was even a chair. We also started finding plates in the living room, cups in the bathroom, and so on. But we were both tired. Our son wouldn't sleep. The house was chaos, and we'd both had episodes of sleepwalking before. So for a long time, we found excuses, assuming that one of us had gone downstairs in the middle of the night out of habit and just didn't remember. Having 3 cats we could blame helped too. Then my wife started saying she'd wake up at night and hear strange sounds coming from downstairs. I'd had similar experiences, but again, 3 cats. Later, she said she saw someone's hand downstairs as she passed the stairs. But once again, we assumed she was half asleep, or it was just a shadow. What really got us worried was a hat. A red winter hat we found in the downstairs bathroom, between the bathtub and the washing machine. We'd had plenty of visitors during that time. Everyone wanted to meet our son, but no one recognized it. We even took a photo and sent it to family and friends. No one claimed it. That night, we spent a long time walking around the house, checking every door and window. But honestly, I think it still hadn't hit us that this could actually be serious. Maybe it was denial, like, stuff like this doesn't happen to people like us. Or maybe we were just too tired to care. Then, by pure luck, something good happened. My friend was replacing the cameras in her house. The old ones still worked, just lower quality, and sometimes they'd lose a few minutes of recording. She planned to throw them away, but I ended up taking them home. And honestly, bless her for that. After the first night with those cameras, everything changed. We couldn't deny it anymore. We had to call the police. 3 people, 2 men and a woman, entered our house through the basement around midnight. They hung out on the ground floor for a while. One man and the woman looked young, maybe in their early 20s. He had tattoos all over his hands. She had long hair and a braid and wore a dress. She was carrying a big gym bag. The other man looked older, maybe around 40, tall, muscular. Let's just say, he alone could have taken both me and my wife down, while the younger 2 were just hanging out in our house. The older man went upstairs. Unfortunately, there weren't enough cameras, so I have no idea what he was doing, but the footage shows he didn't come back down for about an hour. After that, it was mostly waiting. My brother and my wife's father stayed with us for a while. We changed every lock in the house, searched the basement with the police. The basement is tiny, 2 small rooms. There's 1 window, but only a cat could fit through it, and it's covered with metal grates. And that's when we realized it connects to the garage. That's how we found out our garage was unlocked. To this day, we don't know if one of us forgot to lock it or if they somehow opened it. The police found fingerprints all over the gate but couldn't confirm anything. So yeah, they'd been coming and going through the garage the whole time. And since we didn't have a car and used it mostly for storage, we never noticed. Basically, anyone could have walked into our house whenever they wanted. After that, things started to calm down a bit. At first, the police were very active, patrolling the area, giving us updates, suggesting lawyers, all that. But as time passed, they started showing up less and less. The only thing we eventually learned was that the older man matched the description of someone who'd attacked a gas station cashier across town, but they didn't have a name. He wasn't in any database, and no one ever found out anything about the other two. There were a few more moments that made us nervous. One night, we heard a loud bang outside. We called the police again, but nothing was found. We still live here. Over the years, we've replaced every door and window. The basement stays locked every night. We have motion sensors, more cameras, and now, along with our 3 cats, a big dog too. The cats, by the way. The cameras showed those little traitors were completely fine with strangers walking around our home. As for us, we try to joke about it now, but it was actually traumatic. We spent so much time thinking about all the what-ifs, all those moments when we could have gone downstairs and run into those people. For a long time, my wife couldn't go to the basement alone. Honestly, neither could I. Having a baby in the house made the guilt even worse. But it's better now. I had an experience recently that I just can't seem to shake off. I was dog and house sitting for my boyfriend while he was away on a backpacking trip. His home is in a semi-remote area, down a hill, tucked behind a few other properties. He lives right next to the highway, and across from us there's this small, rural neighborhood. It's one of those places that feels both sketchy and safe at the same time. The kind of community where people keep to themselves, and you'll see an abandoned, falling-apart house right next to one that's perfectly kept. Pretty typical for the countryside. So I really didn't feel unsafe agreeing to stay there and watch his dog, Hennessy. Hennessy is a 115-pound, jet-black American bulldog and English lab mix. He's basically all muscle. And ever since my boyfriend and I started dating, he's become really protective of me and of my own dog, Lottie. Lottie is a 57-pound poodle mix. I'm a dog groomer, so she usually has these silly little haircuts with bows and everything. Basically, one of my dogs looks intimidating, and the other, not so much, because Hennessy is so strong. I can't walk both dogs at the same time, so I usually take Lottie out first, then go back and get Hennessy for his walk. They each get about half an hour. I like taking Hennessy last, because it's usually darker by then, and I just feel safer with him. That's what I was doing that night. I was about 3/4 through my walk with Lottie, when I suddenly got this weird feeling, like someone was watching me. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and when I looked around, I saw a tall man in a hoodie standing near an old, run-down house about 30 feet behind me. The hoodie threw me off. I live in Northern California, and it was early August. It doesn't get colder than 87 degrees in the evening, especially when the sun's still setting like it was that day. I tried to brush it off. I've read enough let's not meet stories to know I can get paranoid sometimes. But as I kept walking, the sun went down more, and the street started getting darker. Every time I glanced back, the man was still there, same distance. If I turned a corner, so did he. If I sped up, he sped up. When I reached the highway, I crossed right before a car came speeding by, hoping it would put some distance between us. It did, but he kept following. I walked as fast as I could toward the house, not wanting to look back, but soon I could actually hear his footsteps crunching on the gravel. At that point, Lottie started growling and barking too. I just kept moving and finally made it back to the house, slammed the door shut, and locked it. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. A few moments later, I heard someone trying to open the door. The dogs went crazy, barking non-stop. There's no peephole, but it's a thin door, so I could hear whoever was out there. I yelled, "Who's there?" And through the barking, I heard a man's voice say, "I love your dog. Can I meet her?" The way he said it, it was so off, like there was nothing behind it. It didn't sound curious. It sounded practiced. I shouted back, "No, go away." He paused for a second, and then repeated, "I love your dog. Can I meet her?" Then he started jiggling the handle again, this time pushing up against the door. By now, Hennessy knew something was wrong. He was growling, the hair on his back standing straight up, teeth clicking together as he barked. I don't even know what came over me, but I shoved Lottie into the bathroom behind me and grabbed Hennessy by the collar, holding him close to the door. The man said it again, something about meeting my dog, and then slammed hard into the door. I actually saw the door move. Without even thinking, I unlocked it and cracked it open just enough for Hennessy to get halfway out. He exploded, barking, lunging, snapping his jaws. I could barely hold him back. The guy clearly wasn't expecting that. He stumbled back, almost fell, and then bolted, ran up the hill as fast as he could until he was gone. I pulled Hennessy back in, locked everything, and called the cops. I never got a good look at the man, and the police said there wasn't much they could do, but they took my statement. I was shaking the rest of the night. Later, I curled up with Hennessy and Lottie and just cried. It hit me how terrifying that could have turned out. The next morning, I drove almost an hour just to buy Hennessy the biggest bone I could find. And yes, I got something for Lottie too. I still don't understand what that creep was thinking. I mean, both dogs were barking like crazy. My only guess is he didn't realize there were two of them, or maybe he thought they were both like my fluffy poodle, not dangerous. I'm just thankful he didn't have a gun. Looking back, I probably should have just kept the door shut and called the cops sooner. But hopefully, after seeing Hennessy, that guy won't ever think about coming back again, because if he does, my big sweet boy will be waiting.